Okay, we're live, so we'll call the meeting to order. And we respectfully acknowledge that we live and work in Mi'kmaq as the steward of the ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq people. We are all treaty people. Approval of agenda and order of business. Well now, I have removed 8.1, public presentation. Apparently there's some issues with them not being able to make it here this morning. I want to move the in-camera session to 9:30 because there's some issues with staff not being able to be here later on in the day. A report on the mayors and wardens meeting to add, and Tom wants to add for a future date a discussion about deer in the village of Chester. And he wants to make a statement recognizing some community members in his community.
And we have two others.
Two others.
One in-camera edition on contract negotiations.
Yeah.
And we have a grant application that we're, a resolution for grant.
Okay.
I'd just like to add a brief Church Memorial Park report on their committees.
Okay. Anything else?
Motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Seconder.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Public input. Anyone who wishes to speak to council that doesn't have an appointment? Good. Nobody. 5.1, council minutes, June the 12th. Errors or omissions?
I'll move that we approve the minutes.
Moved, seconded by a couple people. Discussion, all those in favor? Opposed, motion's carried. Proclamations and designations. Pride flag raising, June 8th to the 13th. Oh, July, yes, sorry about that. Okay, you speak to that.
So we're looking for council's approval to raise the pride flag on July 8th. So Lunenburg Pride has presented a new pride flag. This is to signify the evolution of the 2S LGBTQIA+ movement. So it symbolizes the journey from its origins as a necessary protest for recognition and basic human rights to now the joyous and visible celebrations of identity and community that define pride today. So one thing of note is in the policy, we do have the pride flag that is regularly flown in June, every June, and that's one of our reoccurring flags. This is the first application from Lunenburg Pride for a new flag to be flown just for July 8th for 2 weeks, along with a celebration event, so a cake and a gathering of the community as well on that date.
Does anybody get a problem with it? Nope. Sorry, Tina.
Yeah, no, I don't have a problem, and I probably should have read the report in detail. I did. I'm in support of this. Did this request also come through the EDI committee?
I don't believe so, no.
Nope.
No.
Okay. No, I just, because I know that we were looking, around that process, right?
It came right through to council. Yep.
Okay, yep.
Somebody want to move, we approve it?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Committee reports. Municipal Planning Advisory Committee. We might have a slight change to this at the moment. Garth will tell us all about it.
Good morning, Council. And I should say as well as with other committee reports that certainly our council representatives from MPAC may wish to speak to this item as well. But what I have this morning for consideration is a request from your Municipal Planning Advisory Committee to, in short, and I'll go through a little bit more detail, to prioritize one of the items that was included in the growth strategy that FBM presented to council in late April, and which was accepted by council, but council, you're still waiting for staff to come back with work plans for each of each of the 20-something initiatives and recommendations that were in there. So this discussion at MPAC really was focused on one particular piece from the growth plan, which was around supporting or creating more flexibility for commercial uses in the hamlet zone. Specifically, this came out of our recommendation 2, which was to reduce regulatory barriers to the development of commercial uses in the hamlet areas. Specifically, the growth strategy identified 3 items that should be considered, which would be increasing the maximum floor area for commercial uses from currently 500 square meters up to 1,500 square meters, removing the maximum total developable land area, which is another criteria in the land use bylaw, and then looking to adopt some commercial building design requirements for what commercial buildings would look like in hamlet areas. The growth strategy report essentially identified this as a potential issue because the current size limit, 500 square meters in the hamlet zone, which is the largest commercial space you can get, wouldn't allow for sort of a commercial or community-sized grocery store. So an example that was used was the Independent in Mahone Bay would be actually far exceed the size limit, and actually we would probably want those kind of uses in our hamlet areas as being our service centers and more walkable communities. So it's a fair point. But the question for council today is, do you agree and would you like to prioritize that issue above the other, like I said, quite lengthy list of items that were in the growth plan? As a reminder, growth strategy. The growth strategy did sort of categorize the recommendations into short, medium, and long term in terms of what the consultant recommended. And this particular one was in the I guess it was in the medium term, which would put it in the next municipal plan review. That was where the consultant sort of proposed it taking place, along with a number of other related initiatives around the hamlet zone. So at the MPAC committee, there was a discussion about this, and particularly in the Western Shore area, there was a lot of discussion during the growth strategy engagement sessions about the importance of commercial and the loss of commercial uses in hamlet zones over the years, particularly in the Western Shore area. And so it was, I think, with that in mind that MPAC wanted to raise this potentially for prioritization. So it really is up to council whether they would like to to prioritize this. Now, if it did happen now, we would continue with the rest of the recommendations going forward, and this would be incorporated into it. Otherwise, the expectation would be that when we get ready for the next municipal plan review, which will be over the next couple of years, that we would incorporate this in along with the other 20 or so recommendations from the growth strategy. So,
Yeah. Andre.
Okay, so, I mean, this item here is coming to us, we're not making a decision on anything other than to ask staff to come back with a report. It's been highlighted by our committee as a weakness in our current municipal planning document. And so I have no problem moving that we ask staff to bring back a report regarding the expansion of commercial uses in our MPA, municipal planning documents, and also controls.
Yeah. But before we make a motion, I guess
The motion's
we
made.
did, what?
The motion's now made.
Okay.
We need a second.
Seconder? Okay, we'll have discussion. I just had a discussion with staff about this, and the only issue really is that we have, making it a priority is one thing, but when we can get it done is another, I guess, is do we want them to drop something else at the moment?
And I can add to that. So I think that this would go into your municipal planning strategy and look at that. So it's not just a staff report, it would end up being engagement, it would end up opening up your MPS and your LUB a little bit, well, not a little bit, it would open it up. And we would be taking this out for some consultation as part of this. So not the concern, but the question I guess we had was, is this a priority for council right now? Or would you like us to focus on all the other initiatives that are in the growth strategy, the Housing Accelerator Fund, and then we have a list of DA applications that we're working on as well. So that was the question for council.
Yeah. Yes, Tina?
Still part of the discussion. I have a question, but just to ask on this one now though, Tara, so, and Garth, so, if not a priority in terms of now, and I'm not saying it's not important, because it is a priority.
It is a
but
priority.
It is a priority. But that would then be probably incorporated in the exercise of what's expected to be in a year and a half anyway?
Yes.
Like in 2027, which is a year and a half away. Okay, so I just wanted to clarify that before I decide which way I'm going to vote here. But my question is around the meeting itself. So there were five members present of MPAC at this meeting where the motion was made. And I fully respect community members and council members equally. Were the two council members on MPAC present at this meeting? You were? I was. Okay, so two of the five. No, actually, I'm not asking you how you voted, I'm sorry. So 4 in favor, 1 against. So there are only 4 in favor of in terms of the entirety of MPAC. We're asking that this be fast-tracked and be a priority. Okay, no, I just wanted to ask that question to see again where I'm going to land.
Yeah, and I mean, I get it's a priority, I just that we're opening a door that's going to get so much wider, and I don't know how to quite get into this at the moment, but a little later in the morning, we're going to have a slight discussion about some staffing issues that we have, which aren't going to help matters much.
One other just food for thought, I guess, is if council decides that because of workload, it's not the right time now. I think, and if Tara or Brian would be able to confirm this, but I think so. A couple of things to Councillor Connor's point. Yes, as part of the municipal plan review, when we get there, this is going to be a big starting point. Is that whole growth strategy that needs to be incorporated into the next steps. Separately from that, I think there is a communications plan due back to council on the growth strategy. I think that's in the works, and then that would be followed by a work plan for how that gets implemented. So I don't think there's a concern we'll lose it. It's just a matter of the timing. And the other piece to offer is, to my knowledge, we're not faced with any current developers or property owners that are being prevented from expanding by this clause. We could always say, if somebody hits that wall, come talk to us, and then we'd bring it to council for a discussion, like a more immediate discussion at that point.
Abdallah?
Yeah, thanks, God. That's exactly what I was gonna, because, Nicholas lives in my area, and he brought this up, and I'm fine with just what you said, and not putting it on as a priority, like, for a year and a half. I mean, I think that's a good trade-off, when it's, it was identified as, as a priority in the presentation for hamlet zones, and, so I'm fine with it.
Just
Yeah,
make
if someone wants to
it
come
part
build a
of the
grocery
overall.
store in Western Shore, I'm sure we can accommodate them in some fashion, I would say.
Andre?
So the only problem is that when people are seeking out locations for the place infrastructure, usually the first step is to identify what the zoning allows. So that comes prior to even purchasing land. So you're seeking out land that will accept the use. So you won't even have the opportunity to have the discussion because the opportunity passes you by long before they actually reach out to the municipality. That's just the nature of how that is undertaken. They'll seek out land where they think that the possibility exists. They don't find a piece of land and then see if they can convince the government to change their rules. That's just life. So having said that, I'm hearing that we may have a lot of other competing priorities. You know, I still think this, you know, if it's a weakness in our plan, I still think it's worthwhile trying to move it forward, but, you know, I would be remiss if I didn't say that I don't fully understand the complete workload, and if I could have that presented, then it would be easier to say which is it's a priority. We're saying it's a priority, but is it a priority over what? I don't know.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of an open-ended request, I suppose.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to back down and rescind the motion, but, you know, I also, at the same time, it's a bit vague to me what it is that this would be competing with. At this point, I'm hearing maybe there's a bunch of other things, and you know, if in our next update from the CAO, if we could get a bit of a timeline on what it is that's kind of come out of our planning department, that would be somewhat
Yeah.
useful.
I have an update today, but I won't have all those details, but the department updates are going to be coming forward at the next 2 council meetings, and so I think community development is at the second
All right,
council
well,
meeting.
I'm
after
will,
that.
how about I rescind this motion and we table it until after we've had that report?
That makes sense.
Okay, I'll rescind the motion.
The seconder come.
I'll accept your rescindment. I'll second the motion.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
It's in the word.
Okay, now where am I? 7.2, Recreation Parks Committee meeting. There's some recommendations or something, I think, there.
That or, yeah, there are 4 recommendations. We met in June and there were 4 applicants for funding and there were no issues. I would move that we approve the motions 2025-289 through to 2025-292.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, motion's
And
carried.
I'll just make a note from the committee, just one thing. Everybody may be aware, but I don't know, that one of our staff members, Gord, was appointed as the president of the Canadian Parks and Recreation Association, which is a huge accomplishment. I think we should send him a little congratulations. Proud that we have staff that are willing to take on things like that.
Oh, that's great, yeah, oh, it is. Yeah, we can bring him in.
Yep.
Give him some kind of a congratulatory something.
Yep.
And just one little note, so the committee won't be meeting until the fall unless there's, you know, something that comes up, they have to deal with a grant. But there were 120 people that registered for the cut and run, which was down some. So
Oh,
they're
still
looking
quite a
at,
few.
you know, something to revamp it or try to, you know, just get some excitement about it again to keep the numbers up.
During the cut and run, I found that our communications with the public were a little weak this year. It actually, I usually participate in I kind of forgot about it. It just wasn't in my face at all. So, you know, I think just maybe a little bit more presence in building, in the build-up maybe might be warranted.
Okay, Chad's here, he heard you.
Yeah. That's pretty much it.
Okay, any
No.
questions? You have church parks, so you might as well do it now while you're.
Oh, okay. We met, and I guess just things are moving along. They're in summer mode. And there still continues to be that monitoring on the roof, which is ongoing. It's not just seasonally, it's year-round. And they're waiting for final report from the engineer to determine, you know, how many more beams they need to do. Like, it's not just ended. Very concerned with safety, and they need to continue to do that. So I'm sure we'll hear from them more, because depending on how many they need to do, they'll be back. But, you know, the engineer, Jeff Jameson, just said that it was necessary to continue with the repairs and not just rely on the monitoring. That's sort of a stopgap measure. And the season went well. No issues. They're thinking about opening 2 weeks early. There's a lot of interest. The only thing with that, opening 2 weeks early, the expenses are huge for electricity. So they have to weigh, you know, if it's going to
Economic.
make economic sense to do that, but certainly the interest is there. And they just wanted to thank council for the $200,000 grant that they received.
Oh,
That's it.
Questions?
Anybody any questions?
well, I might as well move into the mayors and wardens one. We met, I think, last week? 2 weeks ago? I can't remember. Anyway, the discussion was primarily around economic development and how we should approach it. And I don't think it's the first time you heard about it where the MODL wants to do a sort of a study on what the next steps are, what the options are for us moving forward and that sort of thing. So we basically discussed that. And I think we all agreed that doing an analysis of what may help and improve economic development on a regional basis and where we should better cooperate and how we can do that and all makes sense. But I think there was also a bit of a consensus, and at least we stated that it would take an enormous amount to convince us that a REN would be required. We're all in favor of working and cooperating together, and we had the discussion where we currently have 6 economic development officers in Lunenburg County, you know, currently working for us, and, you know, so it's, yeah, we don't mind taking a look at it, we don't mind participating in the discussion and having somebody hired to take a look at, is there better ways that we can work together and all that kind of stuff, but a long ways from convinced that creating a new organization would make any sense. So I guess that's where we sort of left it. Now, just to complicate things slightly, we also were well aware at the time when we had the discussion that there's a new sort of volunteer organization made up of volunteer community members, business community members and stuff that are out there looking towards creating a REN from here to Shelburne. And we had that meeting yesterday, like we went to it. We were invited and there were representatives there from every municipal unit from here to Shelburne. And that was a fairly interesting discussion on its own right. And I'm not sure precisely where it was left, but there was a lot of, I think that the end result from me, although I'm not sure everybody bought into it, was that, yeah, we should cooperate. And yes, there should be a volunteer, an organization made up of business communities who should advise councils on what they can do to better improve the economic climate and all that. But there was certainly no consensus that we should create another REN. You know, can we work together better? Can we somehow cooperate better with the business community? Yes, we're prepared to get down that road. But there was certainly no consensus that we were going to create a REN from here to Shelburne. I can tell you that. But that was an early part of the discussion. It was led by the volunteer business people, and you know, that's what they wanted. But I think they walked out of there knowing they better take another look at just how we go down that road. Yeah, working together is a great idea. Hearing from the business community, great idea. The Chester Chamber of Commerce no longer functions. I mean, you know, do I want them to come in and tell us that these are the issues and here's how you possibly help us with economic development? Yeah, but I don't think that we need a new organization. We just find a way to work together. Yeah, so that's where it all stands at the moment.
Thank you. Just to weigh in a little. So I think that the idea, if I can guess, would be around dialogue with our business community and finding out what we can do more of and do better.
Yeah.
I would be surprised, just to say this out loud, I would be surprised if we don't have that dialogue with the staff that we have now and the exercises that we're, you know, and the examples of work that would be taking place, like the breakfasts with council, That's something new this year.
Not
which is-
everybody's doing that.
No,
yeah,
but,
I know.
but again, being respectful of other municipal units and other communities within, from here to Shelburne, or you said Shelburne, not Yarmouth, right? Or Shelburne, okay. Here to Shelburne, you know, maybe they can look to the model of the municipality of Chester and incorporate some of those examples within what they might be doing. So I guess I'm very proud of this municipal unit and what we seem to be doing, I think, and listening to the business community. And they're coming out of those sessions, everyone has been very excited. And I know that when we were even looking, going back to the uniform signage piece, I heard from people in my community that had provided input into that exercise and were very happy about the cleaning up of the sign, just everything, right?
Right.
So this goes way back, right? So, thank you.
Yeah, Andre?
Well, I'm pleased to hear that, of our position, because I think that any region, almost every regional enterprise we undertake ends up being a mess, because nobody truly owns it, and it's just hard to direct, and most of the time we get maybe 30 cents on the dollar that we put into it, and the decision that we made some 7 years ago or whatever it was to spend those dollars internally, and I think was a wise one. You know, creating a volunteer business organization that represents businesses, yeah, great idea. I think they call them chambers of commerces.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should do that. Good idea. And I'm sure that any municipality with all of these economic development officers would be very happy to assist them in any way they can, as we would if any of our local chambers of commerce approached us with some ideas. Yeah, I think that, yeah, it just, another layer of bureaucracy. And I'm in the business world, I just don't see, I see no value whatsoever in these ideas. Zero, negative value, just a waste.
Eric, you wanted to have something to say?
I'll be very quick. Now, at the next council meeting, we'll be bringing forward the proposal that was made to the mayors and wardens to participate in a study for approval, so we'll give you some context around what that is. They're looking for us to partner in a study that they'll apply for some funding for, but of course, we would need to put some money on the table. So we'll bring that to the next meeting. And then the meeting yesterday, just so it's a little clear, that meeting was led by both the Bridgewater Chamber and the Queen's Chamber of Commerce. So they're looking to do some, to partner together and to do some more, to expand sort of the services they offer. And so that's where that discussion was from. It wasn't just a community or members of the business community, it was actually the two chambers that were pitching the idea. Where we left it with them was that Lunenburg County units are looking at potentially doing this study that we'll talk about at the next meeting. And so until that's done,
We aren't even,
it was sort of pause those discussions on any kind of REN until we know sort of where our gaps are, how we can partner regionally, does it need to be some sort of organization? So we'll bring that to the next council meeting.
Can I follow up?
Yeah.
Allowed? Did they give any indicators about what these missed opportunities might be? Like, what are these big gaps?
The one that was sort of at the forefront was business navigation, I would say. That was the one that stood out is
In the world
like
of
a
internet.
business connector and a business
Really?
navigation. Yeah,
In
that
the
was the
world
one that
of
stood out.
having the world on your phone, we need to go back to what, printing brochures again, or?
That's not.
I think the discussion was around when businesses are looking to open a new business, who do they go to find out, to navigate the process, the permitting process, all of that kind of stuff. So that was one of the discussions that they had. And then there was others, like economic summits, like some of that traditional economic development.
Yeah, I just, anybody with any kind of like, unless it's, what kind of business would not know this sort of like elementary, like, what kind of ragtag kind of outfit would not know to talk to the local government? I'm sorry, I cannot, in my mind, to imagine that we would have to create an organization so that people can figure out that you have to contact your local government to figure out what you can do in the area you're going to. Like, what planet do you come from?
yeah, no, and I spoke to our economic development officers, and They provide that
They do.
information.
They do.
Yeah. Yeah. Tina?
Thank you. So I'm going to focus on Councillor Vino's comments a couple of comments ago, and that was around the experience, according to Andre, around the regional activities that we were participating in, and the 30 cents to the dollar investment and whatever we're getting back. I know it was. So I guess I would be failing if I did not mention the fact that when we were participating in the Regional Economic Development Authority, the focus for the majority of those years, of that decade or two, there was a component around community development as well. So I don't see our experience with the RDA the same as Andre, because I'm a believer in the community piece, very much so, and healthy communities, facilities, festivals and events, waterfront development projects, youth centers, which of course was my role, if you will, as a community development officer with the Regional Development Agency for Lunenburg Queens. So maybe I can be seen as, looking through rose-colored glasses because that was the position that I was in. But in speaking with businesses in terms of major business attraction that I was also involved with the RDA, part of any of their business decisions also included what may be available for the community stuff, around the community piece, for attracting employees and retaining employees and healthy families and all of the above. So I just had to say that. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to say at the meeting, basically what I get out of it was that, these guys were, I think it was actually a waste of time, just because they didn't know
What we are.
I can't imagine that they didn't know that, or how nobody told them that. That doesn't make sense to me. And David Mitchell made a good point, because one of the participants said, we don't want to be leaving money on the table from the province. And David said, well, most of that money from the province is basically just the nuts and bolts of it. You pay your rent and pay your staff. So what are you really getting? So, and that was the whole issue with the other end, and probably Tina could speak to that better, but I can assure you that the consensus around yesterday was not another organization.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's.
work together if we can, but.
Yeah, that's right, absolutely.
So we'll see where it goes from there.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was that for that, I think. So 8.1 is off the agenda, so we're on to 9.1, I believe, which is PACE bylaw amendments.
Good morning. So, the PACE program, this is for sort of the second reading, second and final reading of the amended bylaw and second notice and adoption of the policy. So, during this process of the first reading, nothing was raised. However, Tim, Sam, and I just sort of identified an 11th hour amendment that Sam is going to sort of address. And this relates to both a clause, obviously, in this program. It's clause 4.06 in the PACE bylaw. This is regarding what happens to a property when it's sold and there's a lien attached to it. So it's 4.06 in this program, and then we can address it when we talk about the water supply and septic system upgrade program. So I don't know what this means in terms of process.
That change was included in first reading, I think.
It was?
I believe so.
I can't remember, so you'll have to, but
There's
it,
in the clause, there's highlighted red, 4.06.
That's right, but I thought there was some additional amendment.
Oh, was there additional?
Yeah,
I know we had
just-
changed it in the first reading.
Yeah.
Yes, and what our discussion was that we want to make it clear that if it's not paid out when the property is sold, and if the new owner doesn't apply to assume
Right.
the loan, we want to make it crystal clear if the lien stays.
Yes, well, that's, yeah,
I felt that was understood, but I think just to make sure.
just better wording.
Make it wording that we can enforce the lien against the property.
Okay.
You see, technically, this program is a contract between an owner, it's a little different than taxes, slightly different. It's a contract between an owner and the municipality, so that owner is the one that incurs a liability, and then to enforce it, we take a lien.
Yeah.
So if the new owner doesn't apply to assume it, technically, we can't enforce it against them personally, because they didn't apply to assume it. But we still have our lien, so we need to make it clear that even though you may not personally be responsible for it, we could, in theory, if it's not paid,
Take your property.
take your property at a tax sale.
Yeah.
So that's the element that we need, just need.
Well, that's what we need. So do we need to go back to first reading for that amendment, or
Okay.
or is this insignificant enough that we
Well,
can?
to me, it's just a clarification of the wording. I don't think it changes what we were
Just
doing.
change the meaning.
Because that's always been my understanding of the way, but it was just after from discussion.
just clarity.
I can understand that, yeah. So we just want to make sure that we're not changing it in any fashion, we're just making it clear this is what the effect is.
So we need
So
a
it's not
motion
a
to
change in
adopt.
content, it's just sort of clarity of language.
Yeah, that's right. A motion to adopt with that small, that
Okay.
amendment. Make it-
Andre?
I'll
Make it
move
clear.
that council gives second notice and adoption of P111, amended P111.
Seconded by Tom. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried.
We need we need a second motion as well. So that was for the
was for
policy,
the policy,
P111. We need conduct second and final reading to adopt the amended bylaw 154.
So moved.
There we go.
And do,
Discussion
With the amended
with
wording.
the amendment.
with the amended word?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried.
All right, perfect. Well, that was sort
Water,
We're in a
sewer,
hurry.
septic systems.
of. What's her septic
Chop,
system?
chop, people.
Councillor Vino is pushing the boat here. All right,
Well, that's good.
it's
hard.
good.
It is hard to push a boat.
Well, this is true.
I'm happy with that.
Okay, so the next one is in respect to the water supply and septic systems upgrade program. This is a first reading of the bylaw, and also, I guess, due notice for the repeal of the water
Old
supply,
one.
the old program, the bylaw 148. So there's nothing, this builds on a couple of conversations with council, so several directions and so on. So after the last review with council, there were 3 additional amendments to the bylaw. Those are listed under the discussion section. So this is the further sort of amended definition of qualifying property, basically underscoring that this should be the principal residence of the property owner. And as the note suggests, council did request whether or not there was a mechanism that the municipality could clarify or sort of make sure that property owner was the principal residence, and we don't have a tool to that effect, but we're just going to include
They should make a
language around
statement.
that in the agreement. And then the other 2 are just confirming council's direction on the interest rate and on the repayment period of 10 years. So everything else stays the same as based on the previous review. So
First notice is what we have to give.
so the only thing that I will add to this is, again, based on the discussion we just had about the tweaked language with the PACE bylaw, the same applies here. This is section 10.5 in this one regarding the sale of the property and the lien. So we'll make that same
Same
amendment?
clarity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this will move, we'll make that amendment and bring this, because this has got to go to second reading anyway.
Okay, moved by Tom, we go to first reading, second reading, Andre? Or, yeah, second or Andre? Discussion?
Quick discussion is that, obviously, I hope we're gonna have good communication.
Oh, I didn't have mine on.
Quick discussion, and that is that, you know, obviously with this rollout, we're gonna have to communicate fit well, because this is gonna be a bit of a paradigm shift for some residents and an option that they would never have thought would have been available to them, so.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to have a good education campaign around both of these PACE bylaws. It's gonna be.
People know what's out there. 'Cause that's-
Agreed. We're going to be working with Jen to sort of determine a communications promotion approach and so on. And there is already quite a bit of community interest in, particularly in the septic system upgrades program, so.
Yeah. Yeah. Further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, motion's carried.
Thank you.
Okay. Nine point three.
In camera, 9:30.
Oh, it's 9:30, we're going in camera.
Excuse me, wasn't David here to do a presentation?
No.
No, that was the presentation that got canceled.
Oh, okay, sorry. I just saw
He
it.
came to let us know that it was being canceled because the other person couldn't.
And just hung around.
Yeah.
A motion to go in camera, people?
So, second.
Discussion, all those in favor? Opposed, motion's carried.